Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 22, and today I'm going to be giving you a guide on how to improve your bike control within the latest installment of MotoGP. Now at the top of the screen you will see my controller overlay for the DualShock 4 on PC. Now this overlay will depict what buttons I'm pressing throughout the game and throughout this recording. You'll be able to see how I'm manipulating the controller, such as the analog sticks, the triggers, and even the buttons. Now regarding the face buttons of the controller, so your square, triangle, circle and X, square is my rear brake, triangle is my upshift, circle is my downshift, and X is my ride height device. R1 being clutch, R2, L2 of course still default, R2 is acceleration, L2 as the front brake. On the right hand side of your screen I have left a key so you can see all the controls at any point that you need to, so consult that if you want to just double check. You will see in this one that I don't upshift or downshift as often as maybe you would expect, because I do use semi-automatic gears. Depending on what class I'm using and depending on what mood I'm in, I will change it to manual or just do semi-automatic where I practically take over. But for now guys, let's focus on the bike control. Focus on moving the motorcycle in a controlled manner. Now you will see the left analog stick is always moving, but gently. It's never abruptly pushed or pulled in such a way that it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction for the rider on screen. Everything needs to be in control and handled with precision. If you're a gentle sort of controller user, you will be able to handle the analog stick with more finesse rather than just pushing and pulling or flicking. Now if you're trying to do something like track and field, for example, where left and right was as fast as possible to try and make your person jump quicker or run quicker, it won't work here. Everything needs to be really smooth and controlled. It's almost feeling like you're slowing things down. So when a left-hand turn comes up, you're not just pushing to the left really quickly, you're going to gradually pull it in as if you were leaning with the motorcycle. Good example is going into Quercia here now, moving to the left-hand side and then slowly positioning the rider's weight forward ever so slightly, because naturally the rider wants to push on the weight and then push forward into the bubble behind his windshield, so then he doesn't get all the wind in his face, and then he can get behind the windshield and reduce drag. Same here for the analog stick. Position your analog stick as if you were the rider. You want to be in the middle when you are going on straights, and you want to be pushing it to the right hand side and a little bit forward depending on some of these corners. Of course I have got more sort of examples to show you with other bikes and other tracks in just a moment's time, but for now that's a brief synopsis of what we're going to be looking at here today, and consult this video as many times as you need to, as I say, because if you need any more advice as well, just let me know in the comment section down below. We're going into the final corner. I will activate ride height device, but honestly for me, it's not necessary to really use it. You can use it if you want to, but I'm still sort of unsure about using it. But let's move over now to Jorge Lorenzo in Jerez, because this one is now more of a gentle, controlled, smooth movements. A bit like Lorenzo himself actually when he was on board the Yamaha. But the reason I say that is because here in the 800cc class of this 2010 Yamaha, I've turned all the electronics off, or practically almost off. So in the bottom right corner of your screen you'll see TCS, traction control, is on at 1, and AW, which is anti-wheelie, is at 2. So in this instance I need to be really controlled now. Really smooth on the acceleration, as you can see, gently pressing it, gently twitching it ever so slightly, rather than just pushing it full. You see when I pushed it full there? A little bit of a wheelie. Upon the brakes here, going into the right-hander for the Pedrosa corner, still not pulling that left trigger to its maximum. Trying to balance it and be gentle without going overboard is what you need to do in these particular classes. And I would say all of the classes are like that as well, it's just that some bikes feel a bit different and handle a little bit different as well. Now I mentioned earlier regarding the analog stick, and once again following the rider's movements and putting that in your left analog stick is crucial for a sense of feeling and sensation of when and where to move the analog stick. Now something to mention as well is, if you are familiar with more car racing games and F1 for example, you're going to have a nasty habit of pulling in too late. When you're braking, you need to be already moving your rider's weight into the corner and into the apex before you even get to the corner. If you're going to be doing it like F1 style for example, where you can go really wide into the corner and then just turn in and everything's fine, it's not going to happen here in MotoGP. You need to be positioning the rider's weight just as you would in real life, preparing for the corner, angling yourself in slowly, 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 perfect lean angle, then you're in the apex and then you're ready to go. You will notice that there is also a pulling backwards on the left analog stick under braking. The reason for that is when you're braking quite firm, you're putting a lot of pressure on the front. So if you counterbalance that and put your weight into the back of the tyre, you're not going to go and topple over or go straight head over the handlebars because the weight will be more balanced. And also in real life, we do this. The rider sits up, takes all the air into his chest and it effectively works as a small parachute to slow your motorcycle down. Some players tend to go without. For me, it's an absolute must. I cannot race without doing that, so try that at your own discretion, but I would highly recommend you get into the habit of pushing backwards on the analog stick when braking. So now into the right hand here, you will see, again, gentle on the acceleration, a lot of rear brake, analog stick being pointed into the correct position, looking ahead out of the corner, not something we won't really discuss, but it's something I will be discussing very soon in another video, in another guide, so I hope you stick around for that. But that is handling corners and how to understand where to position your bike for the next corner or for a sequence of corners, so definitely stay tuned for that. But I feel like we've experienced Lorenzo and his Yamaha. I feel like I've done a good job of this one, so I'm going to go once again and see if I can beat my lap time of 1:36.946 with a pretty good effort, if I do say so myself. So let's focus on a few things here. Coming out of the corner, acceleration, smooth, tapping it, gently pressing it. You can actually get away with just tapping it ever so slightly, and that does stop the rear tyre from spinning. You will notice it on my pressure on the top right hand corner of your screen there with the right trigger. Now regarding the left trigger, let's move our attention onto this one when we go into the Pedrosa corner just after this one here. You'll see right now we're slowing the motorcycle down, trail braking in is a thing you can do with no problem whatsoever, just don't press the left trigger too hard. And now as we go on the approach to Pedrosa corner, 200 meters, pushing the left analog stick backwards, pulling the brake to about 90% pressure, and pressing that square button to reduce the speed as well. There's a lot of things to do in a motorbike game, there is, I do appreciate that. But if you can get those sort of key feelings and sort of sensations going when you're under braking, you'll have a good time with it. Now, something I want you to focus on if you are a newcomer, leave the gears alone for now. I'd rather you guys pay attention to the analog sticks and the brakes and of course the throttle as well. Adding the gears is just another extra layer which will come within time, and to be quite honest with you, you don't need to learn the gears to be a fast player. I've still had world records with not using gears and just using it semi-automatically. But for now, going into the final corner, the Lorenzo corner for turn 13, quite fitting for the rider that we're using. We will then move on after this particular lap and get a chance to try Moto 2 in one of the most difficult tracks. And of course, what a pain to invalidate the lap right there. So now moving across to Portimao with Sam Lowe's, we're going to tackle the Primera corner, braking around 60% pressure on the left trigger, pushing the left analog stick backwards. We got through that corner with no problem. On the right hand side here, braking a little bit too firmly and a little bit too early there, caused me to try and slide it into Lagos, but it didn't really work. And now upon the rise to the left hand side for turn 4, we're going to be bringing on the power. Now you will see that the power is being applied, and also a few gear shifts in there as well. That's just to help with any sort of wheelie that we might get, since the Moto 2 bikes don't have wheelie. Without sounding too much like a broken record, I would advise for you to still continue to pay attention to the left analog stick. The more you watch this video, the more you understand and try it out for yourselves, the better you will learn, because the feeling is the biggest part. I can show you 1,000 times, but until you actually try it and feel it yourself, you will then not see the difference. But I can assure you, this is my riding style, this is what's worked for me since early days of MotoGP, even the Superbike games, and I've always been pretty competitive, so I definitely recommend that you pay attention to what I've said during this video. And of course, if you do have any advice or questions, or if you're just not understanding what I'm explaining, let me know in the comment section down below. I've always got time for you guys and always happy to help. But I would give a final advice, I guess, is you could picture the left analog stick as a clock, so you'll get an understanding of how much you need to move the analog stick by looking at it as a clock. So for example, you're going to be moving it into 5 o'clock here and then slowly rotating it back upwards anti-clockwise up to 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then straight to 12 o'clock, as you can see there. So instead of just letting go of the analog stick to go back to neutral, we're actually pushing it ourselves anti-clockwise until it's at a natural position. Definitely recommend doing a sweep with the analog stick rather than just flicking it to the time that you need it to be, if that makes sense. But before I conclude this video, I would like to do a couple of laps here in Qatar with the Moto 3 machines, because I do understand that everyone will be starting their career mode from the Moto 3 class in Qatar, so it would make a lot of sense for me to give you a good idea of what you need to be doing here in this wonderful Qatari track. So to the right hand side, I want you to pay attention to turn 3 and to turn 4, because these corners can be quite lethal, especially for turn 4 here, and that is depending on how much brake is being applied. If you go really firm on the front brake there, you will lock the brakes, and when you lock the brake you cannot turn in. So it's something to pay attention to in some of those corners, that you really should avoid locking the brake. And I will ask you, how many times do you reckon I have literally fully pressed the brake in this video so far? The answer is probably 3 times. Twice, maybe. Very rare that the brake is fully applied. If you're finding that you are applying the brake a little bit too much, you can actually configure your controller differently to change the calibration for it. So what I mean by that is you could change it so the linearity on the controller is not as strong, so when you do press really firm, it will equal similar to what I'm pressing. But I would advise against that, because when you really need to hit the brakes hard, you may not be able to. The best thing I could advise you to do is to learn how to gently press the brake. You'll not see me press it too hard. I'm a gentle braker, to be fair. Some players are a little bit more firmer than I am. But if you're my style, then it'll work well. But if you're not and you prefer the hard braking, then you just got to be prepared for a few stoppies and also sliding the rear and skipping it across the tarmac under heavy braking. Now, something I do want to mention is I do hope the controller overlay has helped you so far, because I was considering using the more traditional hand cam, but a suggestion of one of the aces recently was to use a controller overlay. Let me know what you think of the controller overlay, because I think I still prefer the actual old classic hand cam, because seeing the fingers and the thumbs do it, just feels a little bit more accurate. But if you're happy with this, just let me know so I know what I'm doing. If you need a follow-up video I do the hand cam, just let me know and I'm more than happy to do one. But now going into the first corner, I want you to keep an eye on the left analog stick here, because the left analog stick is going to be really gently moved and also quite early. So the best example I can give you is coming out to turn 2 now. We're positioning turn 3 already. We're going to be moving the weight over well before we even got to that corner there. And that's because of the nature of that corner. With it being relatively straight and a small kink, you need to be positioning your bike across. Now, I know in real life these Moto 3 bikes can literally flick left to right quicker than anything you can think of, but they feel slow in MotoGP 22. So you do actually have to prepare yourself and turn in a little bit earlier than what you might be doing for Moto 2, Moto 3 and even the classic motorcycles. So something I would definitely recommend is learning to turn in a bit earlier, because you can see there going into turn 7, as we approach the rumble strip on the left hand side, we're already moving Sergio Garcia's weight just a little bit further, a little bit further and a little bit further over until we reach the apex. This is something that will be picked up in time, but I'm giving you the best description I possibly can to drill it into your minds and get you to understand exactly how it is to be done. This works for me, this works for a lot of players and a lot of people in the Ace Academy. And of course, if you are struggling and you're not really having the best of time, or if you are having a great time and you want to arrange some online races, come and join the Ace Academy Discord server. Link is in the description down below, and I'd be more than happy to help if you do need any assistance while I'm there, so check that out. But for now, we are going to be concluding the last part of this video. I'm going to try and give it my best shot on this final couple of corners, and hopefully we can improve our lap time, which it certainly looks like it's going to be done. But I will reiterate, smooth brake, smooth acceleration, smoother analog stick control, and save the gears for later until you're ready, and don't neglect the rear brake. But upon that note, guys, that is it from me. I really hope this guide has helped you. Let me know in the comment section down below if it has, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite sate your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.